All right, welcome back to Denoised. Addie's going to drive this one because I'm busy. I'm doing a live stream with Adobe this Thursday. So if you're around Thursday between 9 a.m. and 1 p.m. Pacific time, I'm going to be live streaming about Firefly boards. But I've been busy, and so Addie's been staying up to date with the latest news. So he's gonna fill me in too of what's happening. Addie, what have you been seeing? What should we talk about first?
Yeah. So usually, just a little peek behind the scenes, how this usually works is Joey and I text each other all day long with, hey, do you see this? Do you see that? And then over the last few days, I just haven't been getting any texts from Joey. Joey, we got an episode to shoot. Let's go. And, I've done the same. I get into projects and then Joey's texting me. So there's been some big announcements. So Adobe with two-prong announcement. One is they have this Foundry where you can build custom models. We're going to get into that. Second, Adobe acquired a AI startup called Invoke.ai. We'll get into what the implications of that is. Runway now has full weight training for their models and what that really means and what's the strategy behind it. So we're going to speculate on that. And then finally, this was Tech Week in LA last week, and Joey and I attended one of the events together. Joey went to another really interesting event on Monday that we're going to get into. So yeah,
all right, let's get
Denoised. Here we come.
All right, you want to start? You want to talk about Adobe's Foundry service?
Yeah. So let's take a step back. This is 2023. We're all kind of scratching our head as we're looking at Midjourney and Firefly, thinking, could this be the future of a lot of the things that we do in computer graphics today or manually today? 3 years ago, generative AI was certainly a promise, but it certainly didn't sort of unfold into the ecosystem that we have today. And I think 2 years from now, we'll be saying the same thing. It'll just further proliferate. So Firefly was one of the earliest models to kind of hit the scene. And the reason it was a big deal is because it was commercially safe. Adobe trained it on licensed data only. And this was around the time when, you frankly had Stable Diffusion and Midjourney, which trained on publicly available data, which loosely stands for anything you can find on the internet.
Scrape it, the vacuum cleaner.
So yeah, exactly. The problem with, now there's pros and cons to both. We're just going to put the ethical stuff aside. Larry, I'm going to just kind of pin that right here, because that could be a whole conversation and a whole episode. So of course, ethically, it's not cool to grab other people's data. A lot of the AI companies will argue that if it's publicly available, then it's for us to take. And so there's like a murky line there. The pros is when you have a ton of data, and I'm talking about, think of every images off of Google image search, like millions and millions and billions of images, every little article that Google ever searched for, right? And I keep going back to Google because like a lot of AI companies in the past may have used Google search to extract a lot of the data. And what that entails is then you get into a model that has a really good understanding of world context, right? It could differentiate between a ginger ale and a Coca-Cola, right? Like it could be very granular, very good at real world sort of problems, versus one that is just trained on licensed data. Now, if you think about just licensed data, think of Shutterstock, think of any stock photo website, you're talking maybe 1 million images, perhaps 10 million images at tops. So I think when you don't train on enough images, you don't have a good understanding of the world. And so even though you're ethically safe, commercially safe, your model is just not as good. These are the things that it's a trade-off, and then if you have a model that trained on publicly available data and it's not commercially safe, then how do you monetize it? How do you make money from it? Because no true company will want to use that to make movies or whatnot with. So this was the Adobe Firefly backdrop that I wanted to present. And now in today's world, Adobe is, and I'm purely speculating here, I don't work for Adobe. I don't have any friends on the Firefly team. So I don't have any insider knowledge here. But I'm speculating that Firefly models are just not good enough when it comes to quality and fidelity. A lot of times when big companies, like a Coca-Cola or Pepsi will use AI for a commercial, for a printed ad or what have you, you won't even know that it's AI generated because the quality bar is just set that high. And on top of that, manual human intervention like photoshopping goes into it to make that AI generation as believable and lifelike as possible. The problem is Firefly's custom model training, like LoRa training and all of the stuff that Firefly still offers still wasn't getting you to that quality bar. So in the past couple of months, and I think we covered this on one of our previous episodes, is Adobe opened up their ecosystem to any models, right? So now I think Google image models, ChatGPT image models could be found on the...
I'm now way more familiar with this because I've been knee deep in Firefly and Firefly boards. They added a lot of models, but not every model. So like the ByteDance models are not there. Kling is not there. Wan is not there. But the big ones that Luma, Runway, ChatGPT, Google, they're all there. Their image models and their video models. But yeah, we did talk about this. This was
sure. Sounds like some of the open weight models, the open source models are not there.
No, obviously, yeah, not WAN 2.2 and not C-Dream and C-Dance, which are not open weight, as we clarified in a previous episode. They are ByteDance's models,
yes,
which are rather good, but they're not there.
ByteDance, C-Dance, C-Dream.
I will say, also having messed around a bit more with Firefly and using Firefly probably a year ago, and it came out and be like, what is this? And then trying it now with Firefly 4, it is way better. It's not on par. Yeah, it is way better. I mean, it's probably better, especially if you're using it in the applications that they built it into, like Photoshop with the harmonize feature where it kind of blends the objects together and matches the lighting, and then, or like in painting and stuff like that. It's a lot better than when I messed with it, I don't know, a year ago. But still, I would just keep going back to Nano Banana, like just all the time.
I don't blame you for that. I mean, just Nano Banana is just on such a league of its own, right? And then you have the open source models in this small other league, and then you have the commercially safe Firefly thing here. They're all, I think in a couple of years, they're all going to play on an even field, but kudos to Adobe for kind of course correcting and bringing that product into the folds of what modern performance, modern quality should be.
Firefly into a platform and not just the model. So it's like Firefly is their AI platform to do whatever you want with whatever models they connect to, not just their models.
Right. So now that they've brought on third-party models into their Firefly ecosystem and they have their own model, what do you do with it? How do you actually monetize it? How do big brands use it? And all of the stuff that I'm talking about, really, honestly, it doesn't have anything to do with film and TV, because the requirements for our industry, even down to like image format, right? Like you're talking 16-bit EXRs and TIFFs and Rec 2020 color space. Our requirements are so high up here that AI models in general just can't sort of compete in this space. So all of the use cases that I'm talking about is primarily like e-commerce, product photography, some type of social media campaign, vertical ads and things like that. And there's a huge sort of market for that. Like AI is already being used for a lot of that now. And so Adobe wants to kind of recapture that market because they had it initially, and then Firefly wasn't good enough. So a lot of people migrated away from Firefly, and now they're trying to recapture it with third-party models and a solid ecosystem.
Yeah. Now, so the big news with this is like they launched a service where they can train their own custom model for your company for enterprise clients. This actually, I didn't know this was like an announcement or something, but I remember at the TIFF panel, Hannah Elsacker, who's the vice president of Gen AI, she was on a TIFF panel that was run by AI on the lot, and she and Moon Valley was there as well. And I remember she mentioned like, we can train custom models for you. It's not cheap, but like we train custom models for customers. So hearing this, I'm like, I guess that was like if you had a lot of money, you think they've been doing this for a while, but now it's announced as an actual service if you have a lot of money.
Yeah, exactly. So I think in the past, how they dialed in the custom models was it went into a bunch of AI engineers' desk, and then they manually fine-tuned and weight trained the model Firefly in that instance. So they were finding that maybe that cost was too high on a use case by use case basis. So what they're doing now is just turning this entire thing into an automated platform. So I haven't used it. My guess is you upload a set of your images, it builds a LoRa, or it does a weight training, and then you can do inference based on your quote unquote custom
Did
model.
you see something that made this sound self-serve? Because it just sounds like it's a product called Foundry, but it's for enterprise only, which means mega money. Like it still sounds like
I'm purely speculating. Yeah,
like this still sounds like a very
the inner
bespoke,
workings of it.
The hands involved like service where they're gonna be very involved in training a model for you. And also, did you see anything else about that they are bringing other models into this training, or is it? Because it also seems like it's still being built off Firefly.
I am also speculating on that. I'm just connecting the dot from their previous announcement and the next article that I'm going to get to.
The acquisition.
So I'm just like extrapolating a clear line. Yeah, exactly.
All right. Cool. We'll go with that.
So Invoke.ai is a AI startup. We covered it on the podcast in the past. It's a node-based workflow that is very model agnostic. In the same way, like we talk about FreePick, right? Like you go on FreePick, you can use Kling, you can use Vue, you can use Nana Banana, and it's a seamless experience. Like you could just pick your models and go do your thing. Invoke takes it a step further and is more technical. You can start to build node-based arrangements, sequential workflows. So if you have, for example, image references that go into a inference node, those image references can then be trained and generated themselves, and then they could sort of kind of sequentially fall into a nice little node diagram. So Invoke's strength is not just their spectacular node workflow. The demos that I've seen is really clean. It's also the fact that they support all the models the same way FreePick does. And so if Adobe acquires Invoke, it automatically gives them a leg up on providing support through all of the third-party models that Invoke already services.
Well, it's not an if. The news is Adobe did acquire Invoke. And that's their front page now splashed with Invoke is joining Adobe.
All right. Yeah. So I Googled it this morning and I was like, Adobe acquires Invoke, and Google Gemini came back with, that is inaccurate. This is a false rumor. And I was like, really?
Let me just go directly to the source.
So I had to go into it.
Their website.
Yeah, so it's official. Invoke is acquired by Adobe. This is a big shift in Adobe's direction, and I think the course correction here is something that is definitely going to benefit them if they pull it off correctly. There's a lot to be said about integrating a completely new company and their technology into a big giant ecosystem that Firefly already is.
I mean, yes, and we've had this debate before of, do we ever see Adobe going down the more technical product rabbit hole of like a node-based system like a Nuke or like a Fusion or Comfy UI? And, so just like, do you feel like they're just going to merge the Invoke product into Firefly? Is it more of an acqui-hire to just bring the AI talent on board? Like, what do you think about this?
I mean, the strength of Invoke is that it's all web browser based. So imagine running Comfy on a browser, I guess Comfy Cloud type thing. And it's way less technically jarring than Comfy. Comfy tends to be, even for the two of us who use it time to time, like even for us, we're learning new nodes and we're like, wait, that node doesn't connect to this. Wait, there's a dependency. Anyway, Invoke is way cleaner. It's for the average creative who is just technical enough to get away with using Lightroom, Photoshop, After Effects, and all the Adobe products. I think that level of proficiency will be enough for them to then jump into Invoke. I see a really nice integration path into all of the web-based stuff they have already. Adobe Express is a good example, right? That's a native web browser-based platform they already have. And so Firefly, the boards thing that you're going to do a live stream, that's another one. Yeah,
there have been times on the boards where I'm just like, man, just connecting a couple dots right here would be like a lot easier than,
That's it. Yeah, so this is that missing link, and I think it's a really smart acquisition. We have just yet to see how it'll come into fruition.
Yeah, for sure. But I mean, excited to see where this goes. And yeah, even on Invoke's website that says they'll be shutting down their existing online service at the end of this month. So like next week. So if you are a current user, that does kind of suck because you're going to have to find something else until the product relaunches again and then maybe bounce back to it.
Yeah, if you're using Invoke or Firefly, hit us in the comments. Let us know if we're accurate here, how much off we are. We'd love to hear from you.
Yeah, I would say I've not used Invoke. I mean, the other thing too is you could run it you could host it locally too, right? Was that a thing? Was that a unique feature? Like you could download the code.
I'm not
It
sure. Yeah,
says,
not sure.
A creative engine for locally hosted generative media models. So like, I also wonder if that type of stuff will stick around, or if that's adios.
If you're an Adobe competitor listening to this, let's say you're a Google or whoever, good news is there is a couple of Invoke competitors that are still out there, and I'm sure they'll be happy to be acquired by large companies. So the other two that come to mind is Weavy, Weavy, and LTX Studio. So those two, I used to put Invoke, Weavy, and LTX into the same kind of category as really friendly user experience that is node-based and is powerful enough to get
LTX
a lot of
node-based?
extra creative use. LTX is also
I haven't
node-based.
used.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Fauna, Flora,
Fauna. Fauna.
Oh, it is Flora Fauna. I thought you were like making a joke, but their website, the product's called Flora, but their website's called Flora Fauna. So.
I think Flora.ai is taken, just like VPLand.com is taken.
Gotta get it's a race. It's the .com race again.
So I'm confusing LTX with FreePick. I think LTX and FreePick
LTX,
compete.
Right. And I remember LTX has some of their own models. And I remember when they first launched, I think they were trying to be kind of more of a media and entertainment, like take a script, turn it into a storyboard, beat sheet kind of thing. And I think they've evolved into more of just like, we'll be a platform with a couple of their own models that they made.
Exactly. The AI ecosystem is so rich and so full of these little companies. You know, I tell you this all the time. I totally missed the .com era of like small startups in San Jose and all the little like 20, 30 people companies. I was too young then and I didn't live in the area, but I feel like I'm living through this now, like right through the thick of it.
But too old to like be like, I'm going to like sleep on a couch and eat pizza and like run a startup.
Yeah. Like, dude, I'm not sleeping on a single couch ever again. I'll go get a hotel. Yeah.
I need my 8 hours, but I'll see you later.
Exactly. I can't podcast like this.
Yeah. So there's some good updates from Adobe, and I'm excited. I'm curious to see where Invoke and a node-based editor goes, because using Firefly boards a lot this past week, I was like, I want to connect some stuff. It'd be nice.
Yeah. And I'm curious how much of this new stuff will be included with a Creative Cloud subscription, because that's when I'll jump into it.
Some credits, yeah, but it's like, it is a separate subscription, which I've also discovered and found out. But there's Adobe Creative Cloud, and I think they give you some amount of credits, but then there's a separate, whatever they call it, Firefly AI or something subscription that's like another add-on that gives you additional credits, but it's another thing you got to pay for.
Yeah, it's like a add-on to the Creative Cloud.
You don't have to have a Creative Cloud to do that. Like if you're just like, I like Firefly and Firefly boards and I just want to do the AI stuff, you can, I think, just get a subscription to the AI stuff separate from Creative Cloud. But yeah, it's a different system. I will. At one point, my goal is to do a mapped diagram, because the other thing with Firefly boards, with FreePick, with like all of these AI platforms is like they have a credit system, and then the credit system converts into how that company figures out what like running a VO3 generation costs versus a Ray 3 generation. One of my side projects is to just build out a board to like price compare, like, converting all of these credits into dollars to be like, okay, who's actually the most cost effective using their platform. It's a side project we're working on.
Get an AI agent to do that.
Yeah, I have tried that, and they're not always accurate. So it needs a human to actually verify that the information's not BS.
Well, if you ever figure it out, it'll be a giant poster behind me.
Yeah, we'll put it up. We'll have a ranking of who has the most cost-effective credit system, the best bang for your buck.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll figure it out.
Yeah, so another Runway announcement. So on the last episode, we covered Runway's presets, which I think is just a fancy name for LoRa training that's sort of automated.
I think it's overthinking it. I think it's literally just like just some nice prompts under the hood that are just giving you what you're looking for. Yeah,
sure. I think you're right. Yeah, it's just maybe like a frictionless experience to get to the thing you need to get to. Just it is it's presets. It's what it is. So this is something that's slightly more different. There is a big, massive labor-intensive way to take a big foundational model like an image model. So if you take Midjourney's image model, and if it has enough hooks into it, then you can actually make it output something completely different that it wasn't trained on. So, for example, if Midjourney just trained on cartoon data, right? Like, it's just really good at outputting 2D animation, cartoons and stuff. You could actually take 1 million images of, maybe not 1 million, maybe 100,000 images of live action footage. It's called full weight training. You can full weight train the model, and then now it'll output live action imagery. But the good news is you don't have to build a model from scratch. So full weight training is maybe a day worth of work, whereas building a foundational model, it could take months, it could take millions of GPUs and so on. So it's still a really clever way to kind of squeeze more lemon juice out of the lemon, if you will, just get more out of this foundation model and have it pivot and do something it completely wasn't intended to do. So a lot of proprietary closed models don't exactly have this feature versus open source models like WAN 2.1, Kling, Stable Diffusion. These guys are quote unquote open weight. So then you can actually take their full model and then retrain it at your own whim. Runway is introducing something called model fine-tuning. Although we historically have thought of Runway as a closed model because it's only available on their API and it's sort of behind closed doors, they're introducing hooks into it where you can actually do full weight training. And the reason for that is now you can apply Runway's video generation, which Joey and I go back and forth on this. We can argue that it is film and TV oriented, right? Like all of the demos that Runway has shown is adjacent to our world. But what if it is really just good at doing robotics training and replicating the real world? What if it's just really good at doing architecture, ArchViz? So you can take the Runway foundational model, give it enough imagery of architecture and buildings and interior spaces, and then now it'll just output that in its own.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, again, this doesn't sound like any self-service type of product. This is another enterprise, money, expensive service. It sounds like a service version of what the Runway Lionsgate deal was, or what they were hoping to do, where they're like, we'll train the model on the Lionsgate, or fine-tune a model on the Lionsgate media. This sounds like that thing as a service to other enterprise customers. That doesn't have to be M&E. Yeah. It's interesting because in their headline is, it's robotics, education, life sciences, and beyond. So anything where you're like, I need a world model as a basis to modify, to train, to do for some applications that I'm trying to do.
Yeah, this is when I say squeeze more lemon juice out of the lemon, this is exactly that. So you spent millions of dollars training this model, and you have this amazing model, and the industry that you're catering to is just not making the money for you, right? In this case, most likely film and TV, media and entertainment. Mm-hmm. I don't think we're going to ever see another Runway Lionsgate partnership. Like, there's no money in there, and it was cool while it lasted. They high-fived each other, but nothing really came out of it. But you have this amazing model, so what do you do with it? You can totally pivot and turn into other industries, accommodate anywhere generative AI is utilized, and you go the NVIDIA route, you go the Google route, you go into industrial, you go into robotics, you go into autonomous driving, you go into architecture. Those are major lanes where there's a lot of money on the table. So this is a smart move on Runway's part, and I think they're diversifying to increase revenue here. Yeah,
I think it's a smart move. They already, like you said, they already have a world model. Like, why just restrict it to one industry? And as we have joked, all roads from world models lead to robots. They're all just trying to build a world model so the robots understand what the world is like.
So the Unitree robots, the most popular robots that you see on the internet, they're now $16,000, and I believe you can buy them online.
Are you buying one?
Look, you guys want to donate some money to us humble podcasters, we'll have a third.
Is this in your Amazon shopping cart right now? You're just waiting to click buy. Is it on Prime? Can you get 2 day, 1 day delivery?
I'm going to wait. I'm going to wait till one of my neighbors buy it and then just kind of get some feedback. And then
you just need to buy one so you have it with like your lawnmower outside, and so it sees your neighbors and then like waves or something.
You know what? I don't know what I'll make the robot do. I mean, cleaning the bathroom, that's like top of the list.
Yeah. What did I just see something of that they were paying people to send videos of them folding laundry to like train robots to fold laundry?
Yeah, so like so to do that, you need a video model that the robot can train on, and that video model just has to output pictures of clothes and folding laundry all day long for hundreds and thousands of hours.
Yeah. You could just strap a GoPro
So
to like
for that, Runway would be perfect if it full weight trained on folding laundry.
yeah. Yeah. Good use of that.
Yeah, and then you could take that fine tune and then sell it on a marketplace. So if anybody has a Unitree robot, they buy that fine tune for $100, and now their robot can instantly do laundry folding.
That reminded me of, now I don't remember the company name, but this is also probably a good segue into LA Tech Week. But yeah, I met a company where their service was basically like sourcing those types of video clips. It's like someone's trying to train a model on something. They need like very specific training data that they have a gap in, like robots folding, like someone folding laundry or someone like whatever, setting up a microphone, and they'll source those videos for that company that's trying to train the model on whatever specific need they have. It's sort of like a stock footage library, but for like AI training.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Well, it's we're so familiar with like Unreal Engine Marketplace. Like you can grab anything, you can build any world, you can add any animation. We're going to see the same thing with physical AI. Like you're going to see a robotics secondhand market, like used cars kind of thing. You're going to see modified arms and modified legs and extra, like it's just like the camera gear ecosystem, right? Like I could go to Tilta and get something that Red doesn't make and so on.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. So yeah, sticking on that tangent and merging into LA Tech Week. So last week was LA Tech Week. There were a lot of events going on. I only went to two. Addie and I only went to one together, but they were really good. So the first one I went to was last Monday. It was, all right, this one's kind of weird because there was an Amazon event, AWS, at Stage 15, their awesome virtual production stage. But it was called the Culver Cup AWS event. It was weird because last year was the first Culver Cup, and it was actually a short film competition. I was one of the finalists, so that was a little film played there.
I remember that.
Yeah, and so it made sense that it was called the Culver Cup. They basically scrapped that entire thing, but kept the name of the event. So it's called the Culver Cup again, but there was like there was no Culver Cup trophy.
There was no competition.
There was no competition. It was just two panels. That aside, the panels were interesting. Yeah, so the main one was a panel with the House of David creator, John Irwin, House of David show on Amazon Prime, produced with Wonder Project. And yeah, it's a biblical retelling of the biblical story through a series, sort of, Game of Thrones Bible-ish version. I don't know what the budget is, but limited budget. And Season 1, they did they did explain that they used Gen AI for like a full sequence. This season, they upped the game and used Gen AI for 253 shots in some fashion.
That's a lot of shots.
Yeah, and they did, basically it was the opening battle scene. One of the big examples was an opening battle scene of, I forgot which battle, it was like one of the opening battles in one of the episodes in Season 2. And it was just a really good example of a lot of the stuff that we've talked about put into practice. So it was a combo of some shots were just completely fully Gen AI. Some shots, they had a small LED wall set up. Actually, I believe Vue set the stage up in where they're filming out in Europe. I don't remember where, but they set the wall up and generated backgrounds and then shot Gen AI backgrounds with live actors. And then just a couple other hybrid stuff with like real life shots, augmented with some or composited with some other AI elements. Like I think they were able to do some AI horses and some other effects. And so it's just like all of those elements thrown in together, edited together, where like all of these shots created in different fashions, but cut together. It looked pretty seamless. And they played the clip. And it's one of those things where it's like knowing beforehand some stuff's AI generated, then you're like, oh yeah, I could see it. But if you didn't have the preface of that, and you just watched it, it would just look like a regular
disruptive
battle scene. No, it was not like, oh, that looks so weird. No, it's just a regular.
I have so many questions, Joey.
I'll try to answer them as best as I can from the panel.
Like which technologies were used, which models, who were the artists, and
Yeah, they didn't get that nitty gritty. Which AI models were used? I mean, I'm going to guess because it was a AWS Amazon hosted event that it's going to be any of the models that are on Amazon Bedrock, their AI platform.
That's pretty much all of them. Yeah,
Right.
more or less every model exists on AWS. The reason I was asking is not for image quality per se. Clearly, the quality was good enough, and they probably massaged it a lot after the generation.
I do have them mentioned. Erwin mentioned Midway, Runway, Kling, Magnific, and Topaz for upresing.
Oh, that's okay. I'm getting getting to my second question, which you already have answered here. My second question was going to be, what about the ethical and legal hurdles? And it looks like I called every lawyer at Amazon and just bludgeoned them until they said yes, said John Irwin on getting approval for AI generated shots.
Yeah, that was what he said.
I guess
don't
that
know
worked.
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know what how the internally decided what was clear or not clear, or if it just was the matter of what we discussed here before, where it's like focusing on the outputs rather than the training data, and that the fact that all of the outputs were just generic battle scenes or
we're
generic
seeing like
Middle Eastern background plates.
Yeah, and we talked about in virtual production land. We talked about generating generic enough backgrounds on an LED wall without going through the whole Unreal Engine and, computer graphics setup. Like you can just generate it. And then we talked about Kubrick, right? Like you can get parallax out of it and everything. And this is nothing new. This is a couple of years old by now. But the fact that it's being done in today's sort of hot market with ethical and legal hurdles, that to me is the biggest breakthrough here.
Yeah, the fact that it was used in final shots that are on a major streaming platform.
Yeah, and if you look at like Netflix's Eternaut, which we covered, I don't know, a few months ago, that was one shot of a building falling down.
Yeah, or I think it's maybe 6 or 7 shots, but yeah, a very small amount. Yeah.
Very small amount. And to now, we're looking at 253 shots across, I'm guessing, an entire season, which is
I think so,
a nice little exponential curve if that ever builds up to it.
Yeah, I mean, because also the comparison was season 1 just had 73 AI generated or assisted shots. So now it's about a 3x jump in the number of AI shots or number of shots that AI was used in. Yeah, the other interesting thing, or more so, I'm just curious more about this workflow, was, he was talking about how they would sort of show up to set and he would just be generating stuff on set, and he would like generate backgrounds and like
almost real time, right?
Yeah, and generate environments in real time. And then like in the morning, he'd generate the environments and they'd put it up on the wall and be shooting those scenes that they didn't quite have everything generated for, like same day or like the day after, which also just makes, I mean, you could speak to this more, but like, does that make virtual production without having the huge time frame of VAD and building out your 3D environments beforehand? Does that just make it as a more viable to just like kind of crank through shots that you're trying to do in a fast fashion?
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, you're talking about saving weeks, if not months of time for those 253 shots. And I'm guessing you still need the same number of people because those shots don't come out right. So you're going in there, you're massaging, fixing, compositing. But the overall time frames compress because you're not having to build worlds in computer graphics. Yeah,
I mean, for a number comparison, this was CDC, who what is his official title?
I think the head of VFX for Amazon.
CDC, who's just VFX GOAT legend guy, runs Amazon's innovation and their virtual production stage. He was on the panel as well. And he said traditional Unreal Engine environment builds typically require 10 to 12 weeks, cost between $15,000 to $200,000. The team discovered they could build structural bones in Unreal within a week, then use AI to add photorealism through style transfers.
Wow. Okay.
Compressing the timeline and budget. So I guess that's also if you need something that's more than just like a single insert shot, but you need like some
that's brilliant
consistent environment-ish. Yeah.
they're still building the world in Unreal Engine, but they're not putting a lot of eggs into that basket by trying to make the render as photoreal as they can. Instead of that, they're just taking maybe the blocking, like they're putting a camera in the right place, taking that screen grab, and then putting that through AI to get the full photorealism out of it.
Yeah, I think similar to workflows we talked about on a slightly smaller scale with like Lightcraft Jet Set and stuff like that, where if you build a rough world, load it into your phone, and then process it later, and then composite it later. But in this case, you can build your world, style transfer it, load it into your wall, and then shoot and get pretty close to final pixel.
Yeah, I think within the next, I'm going to say 12 to 18 months, maybe it's being worked on as we speak, we're going to see the 1899 of generative AI.
Oh, interesting. It's something like just big.
Like, you remember the early days of virtual production, LED wall usage? It was exactly like this. Maybe you and I weren't friends back then. We weren't talking about it back then, but I certainly was saying, hey, did you know that show, that one shot in that one episode, that's on an LED volume? And then the other guy was like, what? No way. Didn't it look like it was real, right? So then fast forward to like 2022, 23, when Netflix did an entire season of the show 1899 on a custom-built volume in Germany. And every facet of that show was done in volume, ship exteriors to ship interiors to spoiler alert,
that
to
inside dining room thing.
Yeah. So we're seeing like the glimpses of, hey, did you know that show used AI here, and House of David did 200 plus shots here? And then it'll just be like, no, that entire show was like custom built for an AI workflow, and here is the season.
Yeah, or when it's something that's like kind of just has a very contemporary look, or just not a very stylized genre look, and it's just like, oh yeah, that was all AI. Because it's like, this thing, it's like insert shots, quick cuts, desert world, easy to kind of dirty up and hide some imperfections. But yeah, it's what you're saying, like the next level.
1899 team, I believe, came from the show Dark, which was critically acclaimed for Netflix. Amazing show if you haven't seen it. So those are like proper filmmakers that just kind of transferred the skill set to this new technology at the time. So I think we're going to see a similar thing where you're going to get like bona fide actual filmmakers who have worked on numerous shows. Then they're just going to kind of pivot and now look at this entirely new workflow and actually figure it out.
Yeah. I'm curious too, because John Irwin's other project that's coming out next year was this George Washington, like young George Washington biopic or series. I don't.
I saw the trailer for it. That looks great.
Yeah, trailer came out. I'm not sure. I don't remember if it's a movie or a series. Anyways, it's coming out next year, which makes sense because it's the 25th
it's like ultra violent and super realistic. Like a little Born Identity. Yeah.
Right. That'd be cool. I am curious what or if they used Gen AI on that, which is also a bit more, not contemporary, obviously, but like the House of David, it's in the desert. It's kind of, you have to feel like it's easier to hide some imperfections from AI that we have now. Trees, brighter lighting, the stuff that we've seen in the George Washington trailer or young George Washington trailer. I'm curious if AI is being used in that, because it seems like a little more challenging to pull some of those shots off convincingly. In that type of,
I think the House of David was kind of in the right usage category because it's biblical. It's in a world that no longer exists, and I guess 18th century America no longer exists. But biblical stuff, I think you could have more. There's more fudging. Right? Like you can get away with more, especially talking about, a giant and like mythical things like that.
Yeah. I mean, the scene they used AI for in season 1 was like an origin story of angels, or Gabriel, the angel. So yeah, that's my lack of Bible knowledge, but it was like one of those origin stories with angels. And so it was already a, very fantastical story. So the AI worked well for that use case.
Yeah, this is all good movement in the right direction. Again, Adobe's pivot into custom models and Invoke Acquisition, Runway's pivot into servicing industry that's other than film and TV, and then finally, LA Tech Week. Also, let's cover the Promise event a little bit.
Yeah, tell me about the Promise event that we were both at.
So Promise is another Promise promising startup. You may know Dave Clark, who is quite well known in the AI community. So I think it's Dave and Jamie is the co-founder, and there's two co-founders, and then they recruited Dave. So the three of them are the head of Promise, and then they also acquired Curious Refuge, who are Caleb and his wife Shelby. So they have a team of, I think, about 30 people over on the west side here in LA, where they're building next generation workflows specifically for film and TV usage. So on Thursday last week, they held an event catered around sort of the tech week, buzz that we have going on in this town. Joey and I attended. Take a look at these videos here and the screenshots. The keynote speaker was Albert Cheng of Amazon Studios. So Albert Cheng comes from Disney, where he was the EVP of the ABC Group, very high-level guy. And then the last few years, he was the head of Prime Video, VP of Prime Video, which I think is... like it would be everybody that we know at Amazon, their boss's boss's boss. Like he was in charge of that entire vertical that the Stage 15 is under, a lot of the VFX stuff is under. So he recently, over the last couple of months, switched over to a new side of Amazon called AI Studios at Amazon MGM Studios, and he is the head of that. He's building a completely new organization and is pivoting away from traditional role of physical production work. So Promise's co-founder, George Strompoulos, interviewed Albert Cheng on the panel, asked really fascinating questions. It's like one of the questions that got some laughs was like, is there going to be a generative AI category on Prime when you start to make content? And Albert's answer is like, no, ideally, if we do it right, you won't even know it's generative AI.
Yeah, that was the question that stuck with me too. I was thinking of that one. It's like if it's not right, you don't know. Like it's good storytelling. It's not like a separate category.
Exactly. Yeah, and the blending of traditional filmmaking techniques with new technology, that is the experiment that I think we're going to come see at Amazon AI Studios and have it fold out. Now, this type of new studio formation within a studio, I think, is pretty commonplace. I'm sure there's a version of it at every major studio right now, trying to just explore and see what this can do.
Yeah. The other thing they announced too that week, they didn't really announce it at the event, but they also launched another, I don't know if it's a separate company or just a division in Promise called the Generation Company. And so that's led by Nem Perez, who has a big VFX background and Gen AI background. And that's a separate branch. It's also just focusing on VFX services for films and productions using AI in the pipeline. So yeah, I mean, it's like, I feel like the combo with a lot of the AI studios is making stuff for hire, developing their own IP stuff, and like services division for other companies that are trying to do stuff, VFX or other things, and want to use their expertise in that pipeline. Yeah,
I'm curious to know what Nam is up to and what his background is. Nam, if you're watching this, come on the podcast. We'd love to chat with you.
Yeah, I'll ask him. He was in the original Cinema Synthetica last year. Feels like ages ago, but that was only last year. He was on one of the winning teams. Did a zombie film. It was
amazing.
Fun. Yeah, speaking of AI studios and a teaser, we've got a cool episode coming out later this week with an AI studio. So stay tuned for that.
Oh, shout out to Joey for dropping another one next week or this week.
This week. Yeah, it'll come out this Friday.
Okay, sounds good.
Yeah.
Shout out to Denoisers, our viewers out there, our usual commenters, Sora Not Sora, Read 4109. Thank you for your continued support, and love the support from Comet Light the Way and Chris Capel. We thank you.
Yeah, thanks everyone for the comments. And also, if you have any questions or anything you want us to talk about, just leave it on the comments over on YouTube. That's the best spot to reach out and keep the conversation going. And links, as usual, are over at denoisedpodcast.com. Thanks for watching. We'll catch you in the next episode.